Hey, we want to welcome you to our new Tre-J talk show called the Tre-J Show. This is our first episode. The whole point of this show is it's just going to be people talking. Me, Dave, and my partner here, Andrew, will be doing most of the hosting for this show, but we're going to bring some different teenagers in, and they'll be hosting it from time to time, as well as some guests. And today's episode, the first episode that we're going to do is going to deal with, we're going to talk about some leadership and Christian leadership. And Andrew here is kind of the expert on leadership because he's taking many college courses and has a master's in business administration where he's learned how to be a good leader. So I'm going to turn it over to him to talk for a little bit about some things he's learned, and we'll go from there.
Well, the first thing with a leadership is to establish what is a good leader, and the best advice I've heard and the best thing I've heard as a leader is somebody who's worthy to be followed. So what that means is you have people who are following you, so you have to earn that position. You need to constantly be working to be somebody that they want to follow. And that includes all kinds of things like being a good listener. That means that you realize your own faults, so you know like where you're making mistakes, what mistakes you could make, what knowledge you don't have. And you're relying on the other people around you to provide you with that extra knowledge. You're listening to what they have to say about whatever the given project is, if it's whether you're starting a new store, whether you're hiking a trail, and somebody's like, we should probably go that way. If you don't know the trails as well as you think you do, maybe somebody does know them better, and it's okay to listen to other people and listen to their advice. Other aspects of a leader is somebody who's open, and that goes back a little bit to the first thing I said about listening and knowing your own faults, is somebody who's open, the people who are following them know where their faults lie, and they know where where that person's going to need help, where they don't need help, what kind of stuff is going on. If it's within a company, being open involves you're talking about all of your employees know what's going on with the company. If you're in financial trouble, every employee knows where you're at, so they can either do their best to help the company so that they can get out of that financial situation. If the company's doing great, the employees also know that, so that they are well rewarded for the hard work they put in to put the company in that position. When it comes to like Christian leadership, that deals with if there's issues going on with the church, as far as the leadership, whether it's your deacons, your consistory, your pastors, they're open with their whole congregation about what the issues are the church is dealing with, so that people aren't suddenly blindsided by stuff that may come up or doesn't come up. So the whole church is dealing with it, even though there is this one person who's the leader, if you will. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on what makes a good leader or doesn't make a good leader, but as I said, it's all building up to that idea of being worthy to be followed, somebody that is worth being followed.
The main thing is here, me and Andrew have sat on Tre-J's board since before it started. Like, we were involved in the whole getting Tre-J going process. And it's been a huge learning project. Since Tre-J started, even just learning leaders, being a good leader, and how that looks, and how that looks for the board members and the whole board in general, as well as for us, and then letting that cascade down to the kids and everybody else in Tre-J and what that looks like, because we're asking them to follow us, we're asking them to trust us, we're asking them to come along on this journey with us, and if we're not displaying what that journey looks like and what it is, they're not going to be enthusiastic about coming along. So it's about showing that enthusiasm and, to want to be involved, and then the enthusiasm to want to bring them along on the journey. And ultimately, when you're looking at Christian leadership, it's the most cliche thing people say, but honestly, it's the truth. Jesus is the one that's really in charge. And even as a leader in Tre-J, it's about really following what Jesus is following, as well as what Jesus is calling us to do. Yes, we're leading Tre-J. Yes, we're making decisions about which direction we want to go, but we're also really just seeking and following Jesus. And part of that enthusiasm then is, as we're seeking and following Jesus, is we're bringing the rest of the ministry along on that journey to follow Jesus and what that looks like. Yes, somebody's got to be in the leadership role. The government says you have to have a board to be a nonprofit, So that structure has to be there. It's not just something that you make up, But it also goes is they're the ones steering the boat. They're the ones that should be more seeking out what God is laying out for Tre-J, and then laying out what that vision looks like for everybody else, you know, and then letting everybody else also putting the input though on what that vision is, because like for us in Tre-J's leadership, we don't know, Jesus can use anybody he wants to accomplish anything at any time. That's one of my biggest things. I mean, and that's, to me, really the way it is. I mean, and Jesus does that. And so I don't know, and the thing is, it's always being open, to not necessarily be like, hey, it's got to be my way or whatever. It's being open to be like, God could tell Andy something, and then be like, hey, you got to go this route. God could tell Abby or Emily something, and be like, hey, he's really laying on my heart to do this or do that, or go this whole different direction. And it's not me saying, well, I didn't get that vision, so therefore it can't really be the vision for Tre-J just because I'm the one sitting in the leadership role. It's saying, hey, this is what God's calling Tre-J to do. God's laid this on their heart. We're going to do it, you know. And then we're going to take that and we're going to help steer the boat and make that happen, you know.
And along with that, one thing we definitely try to do in Tre-J, definitely makes a great leader, is somebody who empowers and trusts his employees. Or in the case with Tre-J, it's we trust the teams as far as getting the movies made, getting our projects done. We empower them to do the work. We don't just take it all on ourselves. But we're there if they have questions, if they need help, if they need stuff. And that's, you know, when it comes to a company, when you have these employees underneath you, you've empowered them to do what they need to do to complete their job. You're not standing over them constantly, double checking all the work, making sure they're doing everything right. You trust that they're going to do it. You assign them the job, you know that they're going to get it done, you don't have to worry about it. You can go, you know, make sure other people are doing their work, you can make sure your job's getting done, you don't have to double check every little thing. And it empowers those employees and it gives them a sense of satisfaction, it gives people a sense of satisfaction knowing that this person who's in charge, yeah, they're there if I need them, but I'm doing a simple task. I don't need them overlooking what I'm doing right now. Yeah, I'm sweeping a floor. It's not a hard task. Most people can figure out how to get it done. You know, I don't need somebody micromanaging to make sure that I'm sweeping a floor. And a good leader is just like, here's the broom, we need this floor swept. They know everybody knows how to use a broom, you know. And with Tre-J, that's what we do with our projects. We hand it off to the teams and say, get this done. We're here to guide you and help if you need it done, but we trust that you can do this.
What we'll do now is, because our goal is to keep every episode 10 minutes or less. I know we're taking along, so we want to move this episode along a little bit, and bring in Abby and Emily. At this point, Abby and Emily go into college.
Lake Superior State
Lake Superior,
University.
yeah, Lake Superior State University in Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah.
Northern part of Michigan.
Yeah, like it's literally the last exit you can take before you get to the Canadian border. If you miss the exit,
You go to
you better,
Canada.
yeah, you better have your passport.
Or your enhanced driver's license.
Yes, because you're going into Canada. So, first of all, I guess my first question for you guys is, I mean, we've just said a lot of stuff, and we don't just want it to be words coming out of our mouth. I mean, so you've been involved in Tre-J since you were in high school, you know, for a number of years now, and now you're kind of moving a little bit into that leadership role in Tre-J and being in that part of what that looks like. So, I mean, I'll start with Emily, just kind of, you know, in 2 minutes or less, you know, just kind of talk about your journey through Tre-J and some of the stuff that we brought up, how it's actually, you know, been real, like, is what I'm looking for.
Yeah. And well, when I first started coming to Tre-J, I had done like theater and stuff in high school, and so I had done a little bit of acting, but my first time coming here, I was automatically put in a role, and that just kind of broke me out of my shell a little bit, just to kind of, instead of having to memorize a bunch of lines like it is for theater, just coming here and knowing, okay, I only have to know a little section at a time. And with what they were saying about like Christian leadership, it was helpful to know that I could come here, because in my last 2 years of high school I had some very rough stuff go on. It was nice to come here just for some spiritual guidance, and just that I could have a community of people to give me advice when I didn't really know what was going to happen or how to handle what was going on.
So the other question is, how have you grown since high school now that you're in college? I mean, you're in junior leadership program / transitioning to leaders, you know, because once you graduate from high school, you're no longer a youth in Tre-J, you're working towards leadership now. So how is that, have you seen that happen over the last couple of years as you've been in college? I mean, granted, with college, it's been sporadic, but
Yeah.
anyways.
Just seeing how much you guys would encourage when we were the teens and doing stuff, it has helped me grow more spiritually and just know to put myself easier into teen shoes, because I was like that recently, and just to know what they're going through and how my faith has grown deeper and I've gotten closer to God, and just that through my experience, just kind of knowing that I can be a help to others. Just if they're going through something that I went through, I will be able to help. I'll be more ready to give them advice or to help lead them spiritually than I would have in the past.
So, Abby, a lot of the same questions for you. How have you seen your leadership skills, I guess, grow throughout being involved in Tre-J as a youth, and now as you're more in that leadership role?
Well, when I first started coming to Tre-J, I was quiet and shy and didn't talk much, and I still am kind of like that. I ended up being able to write an episode for Tre-J, and I got to direct it, and I did a lot of behind-the-scene work, and that just kind of showed me how, even though you might not be the most social person in the world, just doing the little jobs like running the camera or being the director, it can help you be a leader in other ways than what you typically picture when someone says leader.
You've done a lot of camera work for Tre-J, like a lot. When you were in high school, it was almost all of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how is doing some of that where you're making decisions on what shot to take, where to set up the camera, how to angle it? I mean, like you said, one episode you directed yourself. So it gave you a little bit into that, but as well as working with multiple other directors, because we've used different teenagers. I mean, eventually we'll bring Mark into an episode here shortly, hopefully, so everybody can meet Mark, because Mark's one of those people that I always talked about forever at fundraisers, and he was never there until this last one I did. So I said, he does exist, I swear, but.
Yeah, Mark is Tre-J's director of film projects. He's kind of heads up that whole section.
Yeah, he's the director, we call him the director of film. And that doesn't just encompass, okay, he's just directing the film project, but he's also teaching the kids how to do a lot with that whole film thing. So he's directing not only the film project, but he's also directing the kids and teaching the kids the whole different aspects of film. I mean, he'll actually sometimes he'll take steps back to where he's not even directing the film project. He's just the director of the film project, I guess. I don't know how to put it, but, you know, where he's letting the kid actually do the directing and direct this episode or direct, and he's just giving guidance, more than, I guess, a producer type of role as opposed, but, so, eventually Mark will be here, he can talk about all that stuff, but, I mean, Mark's one of them that you've worked with. I'm sure you've learned a lot from him because he's really good at what he does, but beyond him, I mean, you've worked with multiple teenagers, you've worked with me, you've probably worked with Andy a couple times, and whoever else we've said direct something. So how working with all these different directors, I guess what I'm getting at is you've had to more or less work with them all, their personalities, their differences, and yet get the best shot. How has that helped you grow, I guess, when it comes to especially some of the younger ones and your experience of being like, you know, this shot will probably work better than the craziness you try to tell me to do.
At first, it's difficult because if you've never worked with them before, you're still trying to figure out what their style is and what they might be looking for, but it's helped me kind of learn how to, like, I don't know if stand up for myself is the right term, because they want this type of shot, but I've had to convince them that, no, this shot would work better. And once we actually did it, they were like, oh yeah, that worked a lot better, thanks. So it's a whole process of figuring out what their style is, and then using their style of directing to base what you think the shot should be and then inevitably shooting it at those shots and angles and having them be happy with the outcome.
So some of it's being able to just have that confidence in your own abilities to be able to, I guess, confront the director on, you know, because I mean, it's easy to just take that step back and be like, okay, I know this shot's gonna suck, but if that's what you want, that's what I'll do. As opposed to being like, you know, maybe if we rethink this a little bit and being able to have that confidence to call that out. And part of that, I think, goes right back to what Andy was talking about, is the director being open to that as well. I mean, you got the directors in this leadership role being able, where you're saying, hey, I don't know if that shot's the best one, let's try this. So they're being open to that. You're building your confidence and your ability to lead as running the camera. So it's kind of like merging this beautiful multi-leadership thing together and growing.
And you have to humble yourself too, because sometimes you might think this shot would work great, but the director, you guys are conflicting, and it ends up being the director's decision, and they go with their type of shot. And even though you might not feel that's the type of shot you wanted, it ends up looking great and turns out okay. So you have to humble yourself too, to just because you're the camera person, you don't always get to choose how the camera gets directed.
And sometimes you just go with the easy compromise. Okay, we'll do it with your shot, then how about we do it for my shot? And
Yep.
then in post-production, you can just pick mine.
Basically.
Because in post, that's when you're going to make that final decision anyways. You can film it 50 different ways. That's a cool thing about filming. Like I said, we don't want these episodes to go too much over 10 minutes so that we don't lose our audience. And it's just something quick, help you think. Abby hit on one of the points we'll be making in the next week or two is on, and he hit on it a little bit, Andy hit on it a little bit too, is, you know, as a leader, being humble to take criticism as well. So I don't know if it'll be next week or the following week when I'll reveal something about myself and my own life when it comes to leadership and actually being a leader over people, you know, and talking a little bit about how that looks in the real world and in the beautiful life of manufacturing, as well as digging in a little bit, again, using his expertise in business and how that all looks, because it's a whole new world. I mean, it's easy to talk about Jesus and just the president of Tre-J Ministries. It's harder when you're in a manufacturing setting. You can't just do it. Okay, fine. So, then we'll dig into that in the next week or two. We'll be digging into like what humility and how that looks from a leadership perspective as well. Thank you guys for being here, Abby and Emily. They'll be leaving again for college tomorrow, being the 8th of January. Hopefully this episode's up by the 9th. So by the time this actually airs, you'll be back. But it'll be on Tre-J's YouTube channel. Obviously, won't be around doing many episodes. So yeah, stay tuned. We'll always try to have the episode up by Monday. So if you tune in Monday night, it'll be there. That'll at least be every other week.
Yep.
Not every week, but every other Monday night you'll have an episode of Tre-J Talk Show. What is that?
The Tre-J Show.
The Tre-J Show. We're still working out the kinks in the name and me remembering it. So have yourselves a great week. We just want to end with that and see you in a couple weeks unless you got something else.
I was going to say, please comment on this video on what you think makes a great leader. Times where you've either dealt with a bad leader or a good leader. Let us know. We'll talk about it on our next episode. Thank you for watching.
Yeah.
Also, if you have any questions, that would be good too.
Yeah.
Stuff you want to hear talked
You
about.
can
Yeah.
check. You can comment on our Facebook page, our YouTube page, like our Facebook page, like our YouTube page, just like it all. Our Instagram, our Twitter, we're on all of it.
He's correct.
With that, tune in next time. Hope there's something in this message that hits you and comment on it and let us know.